What's up, worldies? Welcome back to Too Fat for Footy. Today's episode I'm really excited about because we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects to argue, to cheer on, and to really get pissed about. If you've known me for any specific length of time, you know that I get extremely irritated and extremely cross when it comes to these subject matters. Men, women, it's all the same. They can piss me off and make me happy just as equally. But enough fluff, let's get right into the video. Today, we talk the US national teams. I'm gonna flip the script with this one. We're going ladies first. That's kind of how it's supposed to go anyway, so I don't really know what you might want to fuss about. Deal with it. Because let's be honest, who's had more success recently? Oh wait, who's won a World Cup more recently? Oh wait, yeah, I know, women's soccer is awful, right? Now look, I don't care about your political feelings. I don't care if they're hurt watching Megan Rapinoe take a knee. I don't care if you get upset if you think that the ladies shouldn't be whining about their pay. A, you're wrong. B, shut up. It's amazing to me that in American culture, that you should get what you're worth, right? But we don't do that when it comes to inflation and jobs and actually trying to solve poverty in America. And we also don't do that when it comes to women's sports, which is kind of ridiculous when it comes to the US ladies. They've won 4 World Cups, they've won the last 2. Pay them. Yeah, I know, there's the whole lawyers got involved thing, and there's the deals that they signed, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. Pay them. Anyway, enough about that. So another thing that the women can do that apparently our men can't is make the Olympics. It's kind of a thing that they do every single time that it comes up. They qualify, they compete. They qualify, they compete. Without fail. Oh yeah, and they tend to win too. 5 golden rings. More like gold medals, but you know what I'm talking about. Yes, the United States women have won gold 5 times at the Olympics. How many times have the men won gold at the Olympics? 0. So while the ladies continue to win things, we're going to continue to talk about them first, because that's who deserves to go first. The winners. So a bunch of big things going on in women's soccer right now, and with the US women's national team. A little bit of shifting around, a little bit of roster changes, and then the big coaching change that happened after Jill Ellis left after the World Cup. Vlatko Antonovski is showing that he can hold the reins as the US women's national team coach. Now, granted, you could get a trained giraffe to coach the US women's national team and they'd still be pretty damn good. But Vlatko is seemingly a little bit more competent than a trained giraffe. There were a few question marks going into the tournament about who would be on the roster and who wouldn't make it. The Olympic committees had made it very difficult for the coaches going into this tournament to decide which players that they were going to bring, because they were only going to allow an 18-player roster. Generally, when you have large competitions such as the World Cup or a continental tournament, most teams are allowed up to 23 players, and they generally bring them all. Especially now that we've had the COVID pandemic, competitions have been allowing teams to bring even more players, such as the Euros, who allowed full 26-player squads. So the committee's decision to only let teams have up to 18 players and 4 alternates was considerably baffling with everything else that was going on. There had been appeals from multiple teams all across the world telling the Olympic committees that they needed more players so that they could have more COVID protections. This makes sense because if you have a player or 2 that go down because of COVID and they have to quarantine, it doesn't make sense to leave your alternates in America only to have them fly at a moment's notice to Tokyo. Thankfully, the Olympic committees came to their senses, and all the rosters are allowed at least 22 players. The biggest deal for me going into the tournament when it came to who was going to make it and who was going to be an alternate was the decision between bringing Tobin Heath and Lynn Williams. Let me preface by saying that I honestly think that Tobin Heath, not Megan Rapinoe, not Abby Wambach, not Rose Lavelle, not Alex Morgan, not Kristen Press, not Carly Lloyd, that Tobin Heath is the catalyst and the actual reason that the US women's national team have won the past 2 World Cups. Without question, she is the best player on that team. That's just what it is. And she's been that for years. Anyone who wants to doubt me, I will legitimately argue with you. We won't debate this. It will be a heated discussion where I will tell you why you're wrong. Tobin Heath is everything to the U.S. women's national team, and she is everything that the team really is about. She makes them go. Yes, Rapinoe scores penalties. Yes, Rose Lavelle scores awesome goals. Yes, Carly Lloyd is the most capped and one of the most scored players on the entire team. Yes, Kristen Press is an absolute beast of a forward. Yes, Alex Morgan's been doing it for years. Yes, Abby Wambach is an icon. Don't care. None of that would have happened without Tobin Heath being on the field. Take away Tobin Heath from either of the past 2 World Cup winning squads, and they probably don't get it done. That's just my thoughts. Now, late 2020, both Kristen Press and Tobin Heath made a move from NWSL to Manchester United over in England to play for their ladies team. I was ecstatic. Obviously, you can probably tell why. The fact that the ladies team for Manchester United were getting 2 of the best American players, and they were going to play opposite Sam Mewis and Rose Lavelle, who were going to Manchester City. I was geeked up for it. Unfortunately, Tobin Heath had a huge injury in January. She was sidelined for months, and no one was really quite sure of what her status was going to be for the Olympics. Now, obviously, she's an elite level athlete, and their training regimen, their diet, and all of the care and everything that goes into keeping their bodies at prime performing functionality allows her and any other elite athlete of her class to heal at a significantly higher rate than your average human being. That's just the way it is. However, it took her about 4.5 months to finally get back to light training, which if you do the math, that was around late April, early May. The rosters were being picked in early June, and she just got into camp just in time to practice with the team. Now, I am no doctor. I am no physician. I don't know anything about her injury treatment. I don't know anything about her progress. I don't know how fast she recovered. She shouldn't have been chosen as one of the 18. Straight up, she shouldn't have. And I'm not saying that because I don't think that she's medically ready. I can't tell you anything on that. Lynn Williams deserved that spot. Lynn Williams had been killing it for the Courage and for the U.S. women's national team. Antonovsky brought her up as soon as he took over from Jill Ellis in late 2019. And in CONCACAF qualifying, she scored 5 goals and 5 assists. Why wasn't she chosen? Why was Tobin Heath taken instead of her? I don't get it. You're going to take the player who's been on the sidelines for 4.5 months dealing with an ankle injury over the player who is on form, been killing it, and doing everything that you've asked her to do. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. And honestly, it was kind of a travesty. Now, luckily, the Olympic Committee decided that we could add players to the roster. Wonderful. So then, guess who gets the call up? Oh yeah, Lynn Williams. Is she going to start? Is she gonna play? I don't know. I hope so. I really hope so. And I hope it's not at the expense of anybody's health or safety, because that's cruel to wish for. I'll wish harm on the Italians all day, but not on members of the U.S. women's national team. I'm a little biased. But honestly, I would love to see Lynn Williams have her moment in this championship. She deserves a shot at a good 30 to 45 minutes if that's what she's going to get. Because I tell you what, if she steps on the field, she's going to pop one in out of spite. The women's roster is primarily just a shortened version of the 2019 World Cup winning squad. Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe, Rose Lavelle, Sam Mewis, Crystal Dunn, Alyssa Nair, Kristen Press, Carly Lloyd, Becky Sauerbrunn. The other one that I'm really questioning on this one, Anton, Julie Ertz. Obviously a high-profile wife of... Wait, that's not important. Because she's good on her own. Julie Ertz, all-around badass, and pretty darn good center midfielder. She had an MCL sprain earlier in May. Does that necessarily rule her out? No. Obviously, if elite athletes like Tom Brady are playing on a torn MCL, Julie Ertz can probably tough through a sprained MCL. But I do wonder what it does for our lineup and what it does for us moving forward. Sam Mewis and Lindsey Horan are plenty enough to hold down the midfield with Rose Lavelle in the attacking role, but Julie Ertz does bring that toughness and the grit that we're used to seeing from a side like the World Cup winning sides, and a tenacity that we're going to need playing teams like Sweden and Spain and all the old regulars, the old hats. This year, I'm not quite certain that we're going to take a gold. Straight out of the gate, we kick off against our arch rival Sweden at 4:30 in the morning on Wednesday. Yeah, you gonna be up for that one? I might. I don't know. 4:30 is early. Then we take on New Zealand that Saturday, and we round out the group with Australia the following Tuesday. Will we get out of the group? Definitely. Will we finish top of the group? Possibly. That's going to come down to goal difference, because we're probably going to tie Sweden. Now, if we don't win our group, we could be in a world of hurt right from the get-go. If we finish second in the group, we're going to have to play the winner of Group F. That group contains China, Brazil, and the Netherlands. China, if you recall, we beat in '99 and they're still pretty good. The Netherlands, if you recall, we just beat in the final in the 2019 World Cup. And Brazil, if you recall, we hate playing Brazil. Marta is a fantastic player. She also has Italian cheating syndrome. In all seriousness, if we don't get out of the group, it's going to be a whole lot tougher moving forward. If we do win the group, then we have to play the third place team from either Group F or G. The Olympics did this really weird, where the men's tournament is groups A through D, and the women's tournament is E, F, and G. I guess that makes it easier to figure out which tournament you're talking about, but really? Now, if we do win the group, and then we win our quarterfinal match, more than likely we're gonna have to play the winner of Group E. So possibly Japan, Great Britain, or Canada. The one big team that didn't make it through to the Olympics on the women's side is the French. Whether that's because European qualifying for the Olympics sucks, or because the Olympics Committee needs to expand the women's tournament, get with it, or just because overall, when it comes to women's soccer, the Olympics puts it on the back burner, I'm not going to offer an opinion. Wait, yes I am. It's all three. So France isn't going to be in the tournament. That's kind of a bummer. But for us, it's one less team that we have to get through in an already really, really tough field. I'd like to say that we're going to win it. I'd like to say that we'll go back into the Olympics and get another gold medal. I'd like to say that this is just going to be another step in the continued dominance of the U.S. women's national team. I will say, I won't be surprised if we lose in the semis. I won't be surprised if we're playing for a bronze medal. I won't be surprised if we're disappointed. The squad's aging a little bit. Yes, we've brought in younger players. Yes, the core is young, but we're aging a little bit when it comes to our star players. Megan Rapinoe, Tobin Heath, Becky Sauerbrunn, Emily Sonnet. They're not spring chickens anymore, and the world's catching up on the women's stage. There are so many great players now in the women's game that it's going to be really difficult moving forward into the future for us to really keep our dominant position. That's not to say it's impossible and we can't do it. It's just to say that it's going to become a little bit more tough, and the wins are going to become that much more sweet and wonderful and worth celebrating over. When the women won in 1991, no one cared. When the women won in 1999, everybody cared, but if you really look back at it, you realize it wasn't that difficult. The pathway there was easier then than it is 20 years later. And now with the women's game getting monetary funding and getting a whole lot more behind the scenes, you can only see an explosion in the women's game at the highest level. I'm not going to make a prediction on where they finish. I'm just going to look at the teams that they line up against, and I'm going to say, hey, I think this one's going to win, and I think that one's going to win. So you can check out my TikTok, and you can check out my Instagram for all of those. Let's move on to our favorite punching bags. Hello, gentlemen. I wear this shirt for the ladies. I wear the hat for the men. Now, let's be honest. This is a good group of guys we got around these days. The U.S. men's national team has more talent and has more European experience and has more football IQ and has a better coaching staff and has just a better overall it factor than it's had in a long, long time. Probably ever. The youngsters that are leading the way, the veterans that are carrying their roles, and the folks behind the scenes are making it all happen. We won the Nations League in May. That was fun. That was a fun time kicking Mexico's butt. And then comes Olympic qualifying. And not 2 weeks after we're on top of the world, or at least the CONCACAF world, we're right back done under by Honduras again. So the men's national team, which would technically be our U23s, because men's soccer in the Olympics works differently than women's soccer in the Olympics because reasons. We didn't make the Olympics on the men's side. Really, really simple to do. Beat Honduras. We were in. That's all we had to do. Now, granted, at the time, I was not one of the ones very upset. And still, I'm not really all that upset about it. I wish we would have gone. I wish we were going. I would love to see the U.S. men play in an Olympics tournament. Do I think, again, that the Olympics needs to expand the tournament to at least 24 teams and not just 16? Yeah. Do I think that CONCACAF deserves more spots than just 2 to go to the Olympics? Yeah. Do I think that the Olympic Committee is run by a bunch of idiots who have no clue how to run a sporting tournament? Yeah. The world's biggest sport, and you throw it on a back burner. Great job. So we won the Nations League. We missed out on the Olympics. Now we're stuck in the Gold Cup. Now, besides like 2 guys, this is a B and C player roster. Straight up. B's and C's. This is not your regular starters. This is most of the B team who are the substitutes and the backup guys on the A team. And then your C players and some of your younger guys that you want to see in to see how they do with the international stage. That's just what it is. And so far they haven't done awful. We played Haiti, scored a goal in the 7th minute, and then we kind of slugged it out for the next 83, and it was really boring. Then we got to Martinique, who honestly we should have beaten by that score. 6-1 game. Daryl DK, who you're going to hear a lot about over the next few years, put into. It was a solid performance. Kellen Acosta needs to be slapped in the back of the head for giving up that penalty, but we can address that at a later date. So now we take on Canada to finish out the group stage. Now, yes, I would love to have seen Alphonso Davies go at our back line and see what would happen there. Unfortunately, he picked up a knock, so he's not going to be playing. And they're kind of a weaker squad. We should win like 2-0, but honestly, anything can happen with this group of guys. They're a solid group, and there's some players like Gianluca Busio who are coming through and making a name for themselves and really showing that they belong on the high-level international stage. As it sits, I don't not like this team that we've put together, that Greg Berhalter's brought in for this tournament. A lot of people are pissed because the Gold Cup gives a lot of points when it comes to the FIFA rankings, and the FIFA rankings are what's going to determine World Cup seeding for next year's World Cup, should we make it. Because until we prove that we can make a World Cup, I'm not going to say when we make it. It's the U.S. men's national team. They're going to let you down at some point. Might as well be early. But depending on if we finish in the semifinals, or if we make the final, or if we even win this whole tournament for the Gold Cup, it could matter moving forward when it comes to World Cup seeding, whether or not we're in the second pot, which is the second best team in a group, versus being in the third pot and potentially being in a group of death again. I, for one, don't enjoy being paired up with the likes of Germany and Portugal in a World Cup. It doesn't make life simple. And just wait till we go to 48 teams instead of 32 in 2020 and 2030, or whenever that's supposed to be. Yeah, this is not going to be a fun time. So, all things considered, the United States men's national team, we're in a pretty good spot. Doing well at the Gold Cup. We'll see how we do against Canada. I think we win that match. I think we at least make the semifinals. That's not going to be a question. Do we push through to the final? Depending on who we play, do we win the whole damn thing? The amount of talent that I've seen at this tournament, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to see Qatar pull off the craziest of upsets because they're playing in the Gold Cup. Yes, let's put a Middle Eastern nation into the Confederations for the Caribbean and Americas Football Association, whatever CONCACAF stands for. Yes, let's put a Middle Eastern nation into that tournament. Now, I understand why they did it. It's because Qatar couldn't compete in the Copa America because South America has COVID, pretty much. I get that. I understand why. And it actually helped us out because it allowed us to bring in an extra team to make the tournament bigger. It actually worked out pretty well. It was nice. But Qatar's not too shabby of a team. They've got some players. And I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled off like a crazy random like run to the final. There's some teams like Costa Rica and Mexico and even Canada that have the potential to knock us off, to kick us out, to send us home. I think we'll make the semis. I'll put it that way. I think we'll make the semis. Again, I'm not going to do predictions for the games, except for TikTok and Instagram. So check that out. And then lastly, we've got coming up for the men's national team, which is why we're not using all the A-level talent. It's because they're with their clubs, they're on vacation. The reason we're not using the A-level talent is because we have World Cup qualifiers coming up in September and October and November. Now, the first World Cup qualifier at home is going to be September 5th in Nashville. And guess who's gonna be there? This guy! Yes, I will be in Nashville for that game. I am excited. We are taking on Canada, and it's going to be a competitive match. We are playing them for the now octagonal, which is what it's the new World Cup qualifying format for CONCACAF for the men is. There are 8 teams that are going to be competing against each other, 14 matches per team, and some qualifying windows you'll be playing 2 games, some qualifying windows you'll be playing 3. However, my mom and I, we are going to be going to the game at Nissan Stadium in Nashville, hoping to make one last road trip before the end of the summer, hoping to take the camera so I can get some images and some shots from the game for you guys. Gonna be a really cool experience. I'm really excited. I have to get my men's national team jersey before then. And you know, as much crap as I give the men's national team and as much crap as I give US soccer as a whole, I'm still, you know, I still cheer for my team. I'm still loyal to my team. It is my country's team. I want to see them do well. And we're kind of a plucky underdog, and I have a thing for plucky underdogs. Thank you guys for coming and checking out the video today. If you want more, down in the description below is the links to my TikTok and my Instagram. As always, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. That helps me greatly grow the channel. And then, if you'd like, please comment down below what you liked about the video. Comment what you're excited to see when it comes to the Olympic tournament, the Gold Cup tournament, and qualifying for the World Cup. And if you're a hater, if you're a troll, leave me a nice little comment down in the comments section so you can tell me just how awful I am and what I should be doing to be better so I can be better for you. Then you might like me a little bit, I would hope. So, thanks again, guys, for coming back to the channel here at Too Fat for Footy, and we're looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, worldies, keep kicking. However, with this tournament, and even, rewind, then there to focus. Thank you.